Watch and burn.
Hey everybody. So tonight I would like to discuss Larry Clark's 2002 film, or at least I believe it came out back in 2002, and that is the much maligned Ken Park. I don't know. I will say that the last time that I watched this movie, which has to be the 5th or 6th time overall, I liked it the most that I ever have. But I just find aspects of this movie to be either too graphic, and I'm referring to the sex. It's just unnecessary. I mean, what's his name? Tate, the kid that kills his grandparents. The full-on, full-frontal male nude of him masturbating and ejaculating during some autoerotic asphyxiation fucking stroke fest that he's doing to women's tennis, because every time the woman grunts who's hitting the ball, she's like, ah, and he gets turned on. And you see him crank it and you see him ejaculate. That's disgusting, completely uncalled for. I will also argue that if you are going to do things like that, you're going to want to have your actors shave their pubic hair because it makes it even grosser. And I know that's probably what Clark was going for, because he has always been seen as sort of like a more of like an auteur, or a sexually charged auteur or whatever. But this movie's gross. And the other thing I didn't like was the characters seemed too gross, like, at least for the most part. Who am I talking to in particular here? Let's see. Sean's mom. She looks like somebody who is out of Gummo, except she's living in what I would classify as a middle to upper middle class home, and she just doesn't fit. And that was the other thing about this movie. At least for the first third of it, I saw flourishes of Gummo, or at least that's how I interpreted it. And I just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like this is Larry Clark's most uninspired film. And even the screenplay, which is done by Harmony Korine, who I love, I even felt that his screenplay was a little under-realized. It's like he would usually pour in so much detail. Like he would say that girl one walks in, she's wearing a Led Zeppelin t-shirt with a ripped pair of jeans, and then a ripped up pair of Converse shoes that has her brother's name written on it. And it would be that odd attention to weird fashion detail with Korine stuff. But even in this, it'll be like girl shows up, she's wearing a blue t-shirt and blue jeans, she has Converse on. And it just kind of feels like rushed and uninspired again. What else? I have to say, I felt bad for Claude, or however you pronounce his name, his stepfather, his mom, who's played brilliantly by Amanda Plummer. Man, can Amanda Plummer play Scuzzy so well? I mean, she was Scuzzy in this, she was Scuzzy in Freeway, and she excelled in both roles. Amanda Plummer's amazing. So she's dating this asshole who doesn't like her son because I think he's accusing him of being gay now and again, even though the boyfriend is actually gay. And I felt bad for him. When he's hanging out at his buddy's house and they're all getting high, and the one kid tells the story about his dad being wrongly imprisoned, and then he ends up dying as the result of what happened to him in prison. He falls into a coma once he's released, and then he dies. I thought that story was really captivating and really moving, and it felt like something that would belong in a Larry Clark film. I liked that, but then there were so few moments like that in this movie, it wasn't enough to hold it together. It just felt like this movie was sort of, its parts weren't greater than the sum, and the sum wasn't greater than its parts. Aspects of it pulled. I could argue in a sense that the parts are greater than the sum, but it's only the odd part here or there. What else did I love about this? Oh, Peaches, her poor father. So the one character, Peaches, she looks just like her mom. She died a number of years back, and unfortunately her father has not been able to move on. I thought that was incredibly sad too. I mean, he's taken Peach's report cards to his wife's grave and showing them to her picture on the tombstone. And then when he finds Peaches tying that dude down to the bed and fucking him, he loses his mind and almost kills the kid, which sucks because the kid didn't do anything and he was tied down to the bed. So I felt that was surprising, and it sort of had like the right kind of energy that I'm looking for from a Larry Clark film. And the other thing that I find really strange about this was made right at the same time that he'd done Bully. You know, they're both from the early 2000s, and Bully is like one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it is like, as far as I'm concerned and how I feel, it's Larry Clark's best film. I mean, next to that and Kids, really, but for me, it's Bully. And this movie's made right at the same time. But whereas Bully felt fully realized, this feels like the leftovers from Bully. And I know that this movie in a lot of ways was incredibly personal for Clark because this movie was built off his journals and his experiences. And I even like that he's in it at the end again, just like he plays what's-his-name's dad, Leo Fitzpatrick's dad in Bully. He plays the hot dog vendor where Ken Park lives. I did like how shocking the movie started with Ken Park's suicide, Crapneck. I thought that was fun, and it was a really good way to start the movie. But this movie just felt bland and overly hyper-sexed. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to say. I did like the soundtrack. Rancid's on there, Merle Haggard's on there, The Roots are on there, The Bouncing Souls, Jerry Lee Lewis. It felt just as varied as the score for Gummo, or the soundtrack for Gummo, which I shouldn't be comparing this movie to because that's a Harmony Korine. Korine only wrote the screenplay, and this is a Larry Clark. But nonetheless, the soundtrack did kind of remind me of Gummo. So did the first third of this movie at times too. But yeah, look, I am going to stop talking about Ken Park. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for, oh Jesus, 6 minutes while I discussed Larry Clark's much unloved 2002 film, Ken Park. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. But please, most importantly, I said pleased, don't forget that the world is actually a better place because you are here. Don't ever forget that. I'm going to go. Have a good night.